Hollywood's golden age was filled with glittering premieres, dazzling smiles, and romances that seemed like fairy tales. But behind the polished photos and red carpet appearances were love stories that were anything but simple. Many of them carried age gaps so wide and secrets so dark that if they happened today, they'd still dominate headlines and spark endless controversy. These weren't movie plots. They were real lives, and the drama often surpassed anything the studios could have written. Take Jean Harlow, the original platinum blonde bombshell of Hollywood, whose name alone could light up a marquee. At just 21, she had already risen to stardom with her bold beauty and undeniable screen presence. But her marriage to MGM producer Paul Byrne shocked the public. He was 41, 2 decades older, and though the Los Angeles Times politely called him considerably her senior, it was the tragedy that followed that made the story unforgettable. Just 2 months after the wedding, Byrne was found dead in their home under mysterious circumstances. The whispers didn't stop there. It came to light that he had another wife, Dorothy Millette, still alive and in contact with him. She too died shortly after in suspicious circumstances. Jean Harlow was left a widow before most women her age had even settled into adulthood, and the unanswered questions still linger like a shadow over Hollywood history. If Harlow's heartbreak was shocking, the same pattern carried into one of the most famous Hollywood romances of all time, Humphrey Bogart and Lauren Bacall. Their story is often remembered as one of true love, but it started under circumstances filled with drama. Bacall was only 19 when she was cast in To Have and Have Not. Bogart, her co-star, was 45, married and already a legend. Their chemistry was electric, but it sparked more than just movie magic. Bogart's wife, Mayo Method, was known for her temper and drinking, and at one point even stabbed him during a violent outburst of jealousy. Still, Bogart and Bacall pursued their love, and in 1945, he divorced Method and married the young actress who had just turned 20. The 25-year gap made headlines, but Bacall embraced it, calling it the most fantastic thing in her life. Yet even this fairy tale had cracks. Bogart wanted a traditional wife, not a working star, and Bacall's career took hits. Both had emotional affairs outside the marriage, and when Bogart died of cancer in 1957, Bacall was only 32, left behind with a legacy, but also the weight of a love cut short. Power and secrecy drove the story of William Randolph Hearst and Marion Davies. Hearst was 54 when he met Davies, a chorus girl of just 20. As one of the richest and most influential men in America, his empire could make or break careers, and Davies became his obsession. Lavish homes, extravagant gifts, and starring roles in films came her way. But so did constant surveillance. Hearst was already married to a devout Catholic who refused to divorce him, leaving Davies in the shadows for over 30 years. He hired detectives to follow her when he traveled, and though their relationship endured, the balance of power was always skewed. Davies even bailed him out financially when his empire faltered, but when he died, she wasn't even allowed at the funeral. It was a sobering reminder of how wealth and control could entangle even the most glamorous of lives. Elizabeth Taylor's name alone evokes Hollywood extravagance, and her love life was as legendary as her performances. At just 20, she married actor Michael Wilding, who was 42 full decades older. She later admitted she craved stability and the quiet companionship he offered, but it didn't last. Taylor's restless energy clashed with Wilding's passivity, and she eventually left him for film producer Mike Todd, who was 23 years her senior. That, too, ended in tragedy when Todd died in a plane crash after just a year of marriage. Decades later, Taylor flipped the narrative, marrying construction worker Larry Fortensky, who was 20 years younger than her. From older men to a much younger husband, her relationships embodied the way age and power shaped so many Hollywood unions. Bing Crosby's romance with Katharine Grant also carried a startling 30-year age gap. Crosby was 53 when he secretly married the 23-year-old actress in Las Vegas in 1957. Always private, He even tricked the press by sending them to the wrong church. Catherine later said she realized by the time they wed that she could survive without him, but he couldn't survive without her. They had 3 children and stayed together until Crosby's death in 1977, proving that, for some couples, even a generational divide could hold steady against time. For others, the law itself stood in the way. Carlo Ponti and Sophia Loren's story began when Loren was just 16 and competing in a beauty contest in Rome. Ponti, then 38, sent her a note encouraging her to enter. They began as friends, but by 19, she was his lover. The problem? Ponti was already married, and divorce in Italy was nearly impossible. They attempted a legal workaround, securing a divorce and remarriage by proxy in Mexico, but Italy refused to recognize it. Suddenly, Ponti was considered a bigamist. The couple annulled the marriage to avoid charges but didn't give up. Years later, they became French citizens, finally marrying legally in 1966 and remaining together for over 4 decades. What began as a scandal ended as one of Hollywood's longest, if unconventional, romances. Cary Grant, one of Hollywood's most polished stars, had his own unconventional love life. At 43, he married Betsy Drake, a bright 24-year-old actress who introduced him to new ideas like LSD therapy and psychology. Unlike his glamorous past relationships, theirs was quieter, more intellectual. But in 1956, while filming in Europe, Grant fell for the much younger Sophia Loren and even proposed, despite still being married to Drake. She turned him down, and the betrayal damaged the marriage beyond repair. Adding to the tragedy, Drake survived the infamous sinking of the ocean liner Andrea Doria, which killed dozens, but her husband never even left his film set. Their marriage collapsed shortly after, a reminder that even Hollywood's most charming leading man could falter when it came to loyalty. John Huston, the brilliant but volatile director, lived a life as dramatic as any of his films. At 45, he married Enriqueta Ricky Soma, a ballerina just 20. Their marriage was filled with secrets, including a daughter born from Soma's affair with a British lord, a truth hidden until the child was 12. Though they had children together, including actress Angelica Houston, their union was strained and distant. When Soma died suddenly at 39, they were still legally married, though emotionally estranged. Houston's story showed how tangled personal lives could be, even when public appearances painted a different picture. Judy Garland, already a household name by her early 20s, also married a man nearly twice her age. At 23, she wed director Vincente Minnelli, who was 42. Their relationship was marked by tension and rumors about Minnelli's private life, which Garland chose to overlook. They welcomed a daughter, Liza Minnelli, but their marriage unraveled within 6 years. It was another case where Hollywood's brightest lights couldn't shield 2 stars from the shadows in their personal lives. John Wayne, the rugged screen cowboy, had his own complicated romance with Pilar Palietti. At 47, Wayne married the 24-year-old actress after a whirlwind romance. Allegations of infidelity and abuse haunted their relationship, and when Palette became pregnant, she chose to terminate the pregnancy to protect Wayne's image. Their marriage lasted 25 years, though they spent the last 6 living separately. By the time Wayne died, she had been financially settled, but left out of his will, showing how even decades together didn't always mean security in the end. Perhaps the most infamous of all came from outside film itself. Rock and roll star Jerry Lee Lewis shocked the world in 1958 when reporters uncovered that the young girl traveling with him on his UK tour wasn't just a relative, she was his wife. Myra Gale Brown was not only 13 years old, she was also his cousin, and to make matters worse, Lewis wasn't even divorced from his previous wife. The scandal destroyed his career overnight. He was accused of bigamy, shunned by fans, and his once soaring stardom collapsed in days. Still, the marriage to Myra lasted 13 years before ending amid allegations of abuse and infidelity. Few stories better capture the explosive fallout of secret romances colliding with public scrutiny. In the golden glow of old Hollywood, the public saw glamour, but behind closed doors, many stars lived in turmoil. Age gaps, obsessive control, secret affairs, even illegal unions. These were the hidden stories that shaped Hollywood just as much as its movies. Some couples made it last for decades, others ended in heartbreak, scandal, or tragedy. But all of them remind us that fame never shields anyone from complicated choices and the consequences that follow. And these are only a fraction of the stories buried beneath the glittering surface of Hollywood's past. Imagine what else was hidden, waiting to be uncovered. If you found these hidden love stories as eye-opening as we did, there's plenty more where this came from. We've got upcoming deep dives into untold scandals, forgotten stars, and shocking truths that will change the way you see old Hollywood forever. So don't forget, hit that subscribe button, turn on the bell, and get ready. Trust me, the next story will be even wilder.